This really is not the video that I thought I would be making when either Lewis or Max crossed the line and ultimately won the 2021 World Championship. But to me, what happened in those last few laps have left me with a sour taste after what should have been a sweet end to this once-in-a-lifetime 2021 season between two of the greatest drivers of this current generation. There's a lot to dive into here, so let's talk about that title decider. Now, I'm actually going to quickly talk about the events that led to that final lap showdown, and beginning with Max and Lewis on lap 1. Now, in my opinion, Lewis should have been asked to hand the position back after he went off the track and maintained a lasting advantage. Now, I saw loads of people compare it to Brazil Turn 4, and this is now the second video in a row where I'm going to have to talk about this. Brazil Turn 4, when Max missed the corner, ran Lewis wide and kept the position, is not clean racing, and it is not the precedent that all overtakes should be judged by. Whilst Max's lunge was aggressive, however, it was perfectly fair and legit. He went deep on the brakes, he didn't make contact, and he kept the car, importantly, within the white lines and was in full control at all times. It was actually a really great move. I'd actually point the finger at Lewis and say, why in the world, during the first lap of a title decider with Max Verstappen behind you, why would you open a huge gap on the inside and just invite him for a dive bomb? Next up, we get to lap 20, and after both Max and Lewis had made their stops, I think yet again Lewis's racecraft wasn't exactly great when he then needed to pass Checo, who had not yet pitted, on old tyres. Now, keep in mind that just as Lewis first caught up to Checo, Max at that point was 8.4 seconds behind Lewis. Anyway, although Lewis seemed to get the job done into turn 6 and out of turn 7, I then could not believe it that down the back straight, he just left the inside open again when Perez had the DRS. Now, I really don't understand why he didn't just force Checo to use the outside line, because even if Checo was marginally ahead going into turn 9, Lewis would have been able to brake later with his brand new tyres, and it would have been harder for Checo to overtake using the outside line on his heavily worn soft tyres. That defensive driving by Checo was absolutely sublime. It was just incredible to watch, and although Lewis did get held up for another lap, when he did get past Checo on the following lap and Max obviously was let by straight away, Max's gap to Lewis had gone from 8.4 seconds to just 1.2 in the space of one lap. Even though I do think that Lewis could have done more earlier in the race, what is undeniable is that when Max did pit under the virtual safety car due to Gio retiring, the way Lewis then dealt with the pressure of chasing him down on brand new tyres, this was Lewis Hamilton at his absolute best in terms of managing the tyres, setting incredible lap times in the process, and just absorbing the pressure without making a single mistake. Then we had the incident that changed the entire course of this title decider. On lap 54, Nicholas Latifi dropped it coming out of the hotel section and left his car stranded on the side of the track. This of course left Mercedes in that horrible position of when you're the race leader, you can't just pit and hand track position to Max. I mean, could you imagine if Lewis did pit, come out on new softs in P2 behind Max, and then the race did finish under the safety car? Mercedes would have essentially and embarrassingly handed the title on a silver platter to Max and Red Bull. We've seen this scenario a million times in Formula 1 and we knew what would happen. Max came in, of course, fitted a set of brand new tyres, and although he did come out in P2 and lost absolutely nothing, he did at the time have 5 backmarkers in the way in the safety car queue between him and Lewis. In the end, with 1.5 laps to go, Michael Masi instructed for only the 5 backmarkers in between Lewis and Max to unlap themselves, and immediately he gave the message to bring the safety car in on that lap, which meant we had a 1-lap blast to the finish, with Lewis on his 44 old lap hards and Max on his brand new set of softs. Unsurprisingly, Max went for one of his signature beautiful lunges into turn 5. Lewis had to take a bit of avoiding action actually, but Max made the move stick, and ultimately without DRS, Lewis had no defense, and Max Verstappen crossed the line to win his maiden World Championship. After the race, Mercedes lodged 2 protests against Red Bull and also the FIA. Now, one was about Max overtaking Lewis under the safety car, which was never going to go anywhere and was thrown out immediately, and then a complaint towards Michael Masi and the FIA about a breach of sporting regulations after letting only 5 cars unlap themselves, and also telling the safety car to come in right away. After quite a few hours, this was also denied, and for the second time in one day, Max yet again became the 2021 World Champion. Now, I'm not going to cover this any more than that because Mercedes then immediately lodged an intent to appeal, which means this is still not over. So, what do I think? Well, let me just make something crystal clear because I know this will be in the comments. This has got nothing to do with Mercedes, this has got nothing to do with Red Bull, and this has nothing to do with either Lewis or Max. You hear the cliche all the time that both of the drivers deserve the title, but this really is true. The 2021 season is a 22 race season, and even just going off this final race, Max's brave overtake on lap 1 and Lewis's phenomenal drive with the tyres fading to hold off Max, this race alone showed why both of these two drivers are just another level compared to the rest of the grid. My problem in this situation is with the FIA and invariably Michael Masi. Under the rules, if you don't want to red flag the session, which I think was a mistake because actually could you imagine a 5-lap standing start shootout with Lewis and Max for the title with both of them on fresh tyres? That could have been amazing. But even if you don't want to red flag it, the 2 options under the rules are either for all of the lapped cars to be allowed to unlap themselves, although in that scenario unfortunately we'd have to finish under the safety car because again, technically you can't just then immediately release the safety car as it has to be done on the following lap. Or the safety car could have just been brought in when it did, but then yes, that would mean that there would be 5 back markers between Lewis and Max. My problem is that the FIA chose a contrived in-between option that didn't really exist just because they didn't want the race to finish under the safety car. But that's wrong. Just as I said earlier that Mercedes got unlucky with being the lead car and not being able to pit against Max, the same is also true that Max just got unlucky that at the time of the safety car, there was 5 back markers in between both him and Lewis. But even then, if Max did not pit under the virtual safety car earlier, he wouldn't have been behind those back markers in the first place. Now again, this has got nothing to do with Lewis or Max, and I want to keep reiterating that because depending on who you support, you will feel a different way. Not because of the decision that was made by the FIA, but because of who won. I don't care who won. I just felt that watching the FIA manipulate the rules on the fly, not allow and then allow 5 lapped cars specifically to go by and then pull the safety car in straight away, it just didn't feel right. It felt like they were forcing a final lap of racing just because they wanted to. This situation has never happened before, but then that's the bigger problem. The FIA this season has been abysmal in my opinion, and my problem with this last lap is that the rules are meant to be the same whether it's the last lap of the last race or if we were back on the first lap of the first race in Bahrain. And it's also meant to be the same whether you're Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen fighting for P1 and the title, or if you're Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso fighting for an insignificant P15. But they're just not. This happened because F1 wanted a racing finish. But hey, Daniel Ricciardo won his first ever race under the safety car in Canada 2014, and guess what? It's fine. Yes, we did not get a last lap of racing on that occasion, but that did not take away anything from Daniel Ricciardo's first ever win. So why should it take anything away from this championship and incredible season if the last lap was finished under a safety car? In the end, I come away from this race with a really strange feeling. I'm so happy for Max because I've been saying this for the last 3 years that when he's given a championship capable car, he will deliver, and this season, he did exactly that. He is now a certified legend even if his career ended today, and with his talent and mindset, the sky is the limit for what him and Red Bull can achieve in their brand new era without Honda. Oh, and congrats to Mercedes for winning the Constructors title. My bigger problem is that if the FIA are allowed to bend the rules and create narratives in racing situations artificially, that is a very slippery slope that just doesn't feel right. Yet again, the stewards have shown a lack of consistency. It has left me frustrated yet again because it just doesn't make sense. But if you've got a race director who can just pull out random rules out of his backside, well, where does it end? Is this now the precedent going forward? Of course not, because unlike today, not every single race is a title decider. Well, there you have it, another video wrapped up just like the 2021 season. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments box below. Please do try and keep it moderately civil and peaceful down in the comments. But anyway, if you did enjoy this video, then don't forget to drop a like and smash that subscribe button. I have got so much exciting off-season content that I can't wait to share with all of you. And so I'll see you in the next one.